Hi, I'm Tiffany Oshinsky.
And I'm Kat Bell.
And this is Serving Pancakes with League One Volleyball. The inaugural Love season is finally here. Each episode will be going over the matches from the week to keep you up to date on everything League One Volleyball. Then stick around after the analysis for interviews with some amazing people in and around the sport. Today's episode features 3-time Emmy award-winning broadcaster and one of the voices of League One Volleyball on ESPN, Anne-Marie Anderson. But first, let's talk week 7. I'm sure you're feeling good about this week, Kat.
I'm feeling so good. Excited about serving pancakes today. Let's jump right in. I'm so excited.
Okay, let's do this. Let's start with your Wednesday night game where your team Love Austin took down the Love Classic champs from the previous week, Love Houston, 25-20, 19-25, 25-18, 26-24. Now, the biggest news for you ladies, besides the win, is that you have a new coach. You have Chris McGowan. He took over as interim head coach after your previous head coach, Marco Bonita, left for personal reasons. So what did Chris bring as a coach to this game to help you beat the second best team in the league?
Honestly, Chris came in just making things more simple, not too much of telling us what to do as far as game preparation and scouting reports, just keeping it simple, allowing us to be us and being pro athletes and doing what we do.
Now, he said that he met you guys just an hour before the match, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Talk about that meet and greet and what he did before the match.
Well, coming in, he's bright eyes, great smile, very, very good sense of good energy. Comes in and just like, hey, I'm coming in just to help you guys out. And we have a quick 2 months, a quick turnaround and 2 months coming up for the team. And just, guys, go out there and do what you got to do. And as we get back into practice and start connections, and we'll see what we can do and go from here. So it was really cool. He was great.
Well, it worked out because you guys ended up winning that match, like we said at the top. But I want to talk about Maddie Skinner real quick because she was named player of the match. She finished with a season high 23 kills and 13 digs, along with an ace, 2 blocks, and an assist.
Big swing by Skinner and a kill. Just making stuff up.
Now, Maddie's a recent Texas grad. She's young, but she's really shown that she can handle the pros very well. So as her teammate, what have you seen from her and her work ethic that makes her such a force?
Honestly, I'm really enjoying to get to know Maddie on a personal level. Madison, she wants to be called Madison. I love that she's being able to cultivate her image as herself outside of the court, and her coming in and just diving right in with the group and having a great dynamic and just being a great team player and wanting to learn and wanting to listen. I think having, the switch of a coaching staff and having able to get her in practice and working on things she needs to work on is very good for her. And I think it's very good for the young girls as well. I think it's a very crucial development time for the younger girls coming to their first 2 years or 3 years of professional volleyball. And, she's just handled it so well. And I'm just so proud of her.
That's great. All right, well, let's move on to Thursday night's doubleheader. Houston swept Love Omaha 26-24, 25-23, 25-16. No surprise here, Jordan Thompson dominated yet again. Girls got 78 kills in her last 4 matches, which
JT's
is insane.
Coming.
No, right? Now, JT rested Wednesday night against you guys, but she continues to put up numbers when she is on the court. Now, despite the slow start to the season, she leads the league in points with 120. Madison Skinner is actually second with 119. But what is Jordan doing now that she wasn't doing earlier this season?
I think, again, it's just selling into that world. Jordan is this person everywhere she goes. I was able to watch her in Turkey, obviously playing for the national team. And her settling to a role here for Houston is going to be a great piece of the puzzle for their team. And her just being consistent every single night and bringing her best game is going to be a big piece for Houston and just being who she is. So it's I'm admiring her, actually. So, yeah, remarkable.
I think we're all admiring her.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah, I'm like, she's my friend, but I'm kind of fangirling. Like, she's amazing. Like, there's little things that she says that I sing in my head throughout the day. I'm just kind of like, I have this girl's voice in my head. Like, she's great. Like, she is great. She's amazing.
That's awesome. Well, we've talked about the importance of pushing through till the end, not giving up. Houston had pretty decent leads at the end of the first 2 sets. It was 24-19, 23-19, respectively. Omaha came back to make those close matches, but it was our girl Jordan Thompson who came to the rescue in both sets to ultimately take their team to victory. Now, if you are in Omaha's shoes, 2 close sets with 2 almost comebacks, how do you keep your head up?
I think like any team, it's just getting back to the drawing board and figuring out those pieces to what you can do to make things work. they still have so much time. Again, we're right in the middle of the season right now. We have 2 months to go, and just kind of get back to the drawing board and seeing what they can do together and try to get out this hole that they're in right now. I think it's important to kind of find a quick turnaround fast as they can, just so they can figure out things in the long run.
Both you guys and Houston played 5 games in 7 days.
Yeah.
So talk about the toll that playing that much has on your body and the importance of multiple days off that you guys get to recover.
I mean, for me, like, I'm on the bench right now. Well, I was on the bench, but I'm yelling a lot. So my voice is trying to kind of recover. I think as athletes, the recovery part is really important. It's hard, it's just like running a marathon, but the positive impact of it is that, like, this league is so incredible and each team has so many different players and the bench is very, very deep. So you get to see, the starting 6 take a rest and, like, see the second string and third string. I hate to say that, but, like, the next superstars are on the bench to come in and show what they can do. So you get to see everybody kind of play a lot of good volleyball right now. So it's a good thing and a bad thing.
You were on the bench because on Thursday night in the nightcap, you kind of came out and dominated this one, which is so fun to watch. So before we get into how awesome you were in that match, let me just say that, Love Austin defeated Love Salt Lake in 4 sets, 25-21, 25-22, 21-25, 25-21. You led the team with 11 kills. You had some amazing highlights to watch. How'd you feel this game? What was coursing through your veins that night?
I mean, honestly, I haven't had a lot of preparation because, again, our bench is so deep. We have 4 opposites. So right now, Julianne and Maddie have been our go-to opposite. So shout out to Carrie DeHogue. Like, me and her on the sidelines even at practice, so we don't get a lot of repetition or anything. So Chris trusting me and knowing what's been going on and letting me get in and do my thing. And being an oppo is what I do. So I was just, this is my opportunity to go in and play some volleyball. And I was just happy to get there and do it. And I was very happy my teammates were just as excited as I was.
Mm-hmm. What was your favorite part of that match?
Besides getting tired, Maddie's young. So I was telling, after, in the third set, I was like, I do this little thing. I kind of like act like I have an inhaler. So I kind of like pump a little bit. And I look at Chris and I'm like, hey, honestly, I'm tired. And if you wanted to sub me out right now, like, I'd be okay with that. He was like, what? Are you serious? I was like, yeah, that's what it's all about. Like, that's what it should be about. All the teams are stacked. We can keep up the high level of volleyball. If girls are just like, hey, I'm tired. There's someone else that can come in and make an impact. Let her come in, jump in. If you need to go back in, great. So Maddie, I was like, Maddie, you young, like, get in there and get after it. She's like, it's okay, I can do it. I'm like, yeah, I know you can. You got young genes, you got young knees, girl, you're young. And also Koto, like, Koto is a force to be reckoned with. She is amazing. Koto's amazing.
Well, speaking of Koto, I want to give a little bit of libero love as someone who was a libero. I'm all about the libero
Shout out to the bros.
Shout out to the bros, exactly. Well, your bro, Koto Inoue, you ladies call her Koto, earned player of the match honors with 20 digs, 4 assists. And although it's not recorded as a kill, she had a bump kill, which to me is one of my favorite things to happen.
Halter to Dixon.
Oh,
how about the kill for Koto Inoue? Are you joking me?
It was an overpass, her dig, but she had a sick dig, and it happened to land on Salt Lake's court in the deep corner for a point. Absolutely amazing. Do you guys get excited? Like, I get excited for those things?
Yeah, we get electrified. Like, anything that Koto does, though, the bench is just, everyone's just going crazy. Koto, she's such a great athlete. As a libero, she's able to play literally all 3 parts. She swings, she's had a few times that she swung this past week, and, she's playing in middle back and scooping everything. And left back is where she's made to be, obviously, scooping everything. So her being player of the match is well deserved. And I've watched her interview at least like 3 times. Like, she is the cutest thing. Sometimes I remind myself that, like, Koto is older than I am, but I'm just like, you're my little baby. I just want to, like, squish you, So
teammate is so amazing. Organized is so nice. I'm so enjoying now.
We were all so excited for her. So excited.
She's so adorable.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And I love that she's on your team, that you get to be a part of her team.
Yes.
I live vicariously through you on that one.
I'm always like teaching her things like dance moves or like honestly bad words and stuff. So there's one of the videos going around. I was like, we do a thing, we say, what the F? And she's like, Khat, what the F? Because she got player of the match. And I was like, what the F?
That's amazing.
She's so cute.
All right, well, for the last match of the weekend, we had a hard-fought 5-set match between Love Madison and Love Atlanta, with Atlanta pulling out the W, 25-15, 25-21, 23-25, 23-25, 15-7. Now, Madison almost pulled off a reverse sweep, but couldn't finish it in the 5th. What did they do to lose in that fifth set, or what did Atlanta do to win in that fifth set?
I think it's all about being consistent. Going to that fifth set is like taking your last breath and being able to hold it. You know what I'm saying? And if you can't hold that last breath before, you're going to drown, and Danielle Katina, she's just a rocket, and Danielle does what she does all the time. I think, again, she's settling to her role just like JT is. And having Danielle on the team is also something to have. It's very important. And it's going to be a great leadership role, a great role of points. And Danielle did a great match that night.
Speaking of Danielle, a triple-double for her. She finished with 24 points thanks to 21 kills and 3 blocks, while also racking up 10 digs and 2 assists.
Coutinho, it's all power.
She's put up numbers throughout the season, but this match was a season high for her in all categories. So what was different this time?
I think for her, it's just a mindset. She's battling different things, trying to step into this leadership role. Since they have now, Jess is out from an ankle injury. So Danielle was definitely have to kind of step into that leadership role for the opportunity. So she has an opportunity. She's ready to compete and show everyone what she can do. And just, believing herself and trusting herself and knowing that she's a great athlete. So Danielle's is a dog. Like, she's a dog. And I'm really excited to see the games coming forward when her competing this coming up week.
Now, Madison is sitting in the basement of the standings at 1-7, but they have multiple players in the top 5 of different statistical categories. For example, outside Sarah Franklin is 5th in points and 4th in kills. Taylor Sambothy is 4th in aces. Setter Lauren Carlini is 2nd in assists. That's just naming a few of them. So what do they need to do to turn their season around? Because clearly they have the makeup there.
Yeah, for sure. I think Madison is dealing with a few injuries and stuff with players. And I think player management on and off the court, mentally and physically, is going to be the biggest thing. Again, just getting back to the drawing board and trying to figure out, what they can do moving forward and trusting themselves and trying to see those pieces with the new players coming into the court and trying to find that rhythm. So they have some time again, and that's just the biggest thing, I think, part of their game they have to kind of develop right now.
There's definitely more time. Like you said, 2 more months left of the season to go.
Yeah.
But we're going to continue this podcast because when we come back, you and I are going to sit down with 3-time Emmy-winning broadcaster and one of the voices of League One Volleyball, Anne-Marie Anderson. We talk about the differences in women's volleyball and women's sports throughout the years in the world, her broadcast career, as well as her book, Cultivating Audacity, and how to reach your goals. So make sure you stay tuned. We are back with Emmy-winning broadcaster Anne-Marie Anderson. Anne-Marie has spent more than 3 decades in sports television, having covered 6 Olympic Games, heavyweight title fights, golf majors, NBA and MLB playoffs, and the Super Bowl, among countless other marquee events. She's also a highly sought-after speaker and MC and has written the book Cultivating Audacity, Dismantle Doubt, and Let Yourself Win, which is a step-by-step guide to help people discover what has been holding them back from doing the thing that they have wanted to do. Anne-Marie's volleyball roots date back to when she was in college at Hofstra, where she helped lead the team to an East Coast Conference championship title. And for the past several years, she's traveled internationally calling the national men's and women's volleyball teams in Volleyball Nations League for Volleyball World. Now she's our lead play-by-play for League One Volleyball, and she's here on the podcast. Anne-Marie, welcome to Serving Pancakes.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm ready. Let's serve.
Let's serve. Anne-Marie, you've been traveling now for League One Volleyball for ESPN. What have you noticed so far about this league versus other volleyball leagues that you've covered?
There is no other league that can match in terms of the talent of this league. I think, we were looking at it and we're like, oh, there's all these Olympians, all these national champions. But I think the American audiences don't know these international players the way that some of us do. You mentioned I've been traveling overseas. I mean, when I saw Kojima, I was like, oh my gosh, they've got Kojima,
Stan. I'm a Kojima fan.
Yeah, all of it. So I just think the level is something that has never been seen in this country before.
With the level of play and the level that you've seen in the stands and everything, because you've witnessed fans in other countries, witnessing them cheering on other international teams, what have you noticed about the fans in these games?
I think the fans are a little stunned at first, right? Because they're so used to seeing college volleyball, which was incredibly high level here. But there's something about the what do I want to say? Violence with the athletes hit the ball that just electrifies people. And I like seeing the eyes open on the American audiences being like, dang, that is a hot ball. So it's really fun.
That's amazing. Well, going back to the days when you used to play, what's the biggest difference versus when you played back in the day and today?
Oh my God, Kat, Bell, please.
It wasn't that long ago. It was just like 5 years. Don't worry.
Yeah. And we're also talking about Texas and Hofstra. Let's just be real. It's a different game. The biggest difference, we didn't have Libros. I think I would have liked to have been a Libro. I just feel like, identifying where people are going. Plus at 5'11", I'm not tall enough anymore to be a hitter. No jump. So I think just seeing the way that Libros have changed the game and extended rallies, and it's just made it so much fun.
So Lexi Rodriguez just made her debut the other week, and in the back row for Omaha, it was Lexi, Justine Wong-Orantes, Jordan Larson. So talking about just like that force and like having those girls back there who dig everything. I mean, that is a game changer for sure.
Yeah, and I think also the American fans now, this is what's the timing of this league is so great because we have stars. Yeah. We have stars, and the fans are able to attach just the access. I mean, certainly the club athletes and the way that they're able to see these pros, but I would have gone crazy to see Flo Hyman or Rita Crockett or Debbie Green. It makes it attainable and reachable. I mean, I'm sure, Kat, you know this. The eyes get so big because I think maybe I can.
Yeah, 100%. I think so many players, even right now abroad, that are thinking about retiring, want to come back and be a part of this. So that's the biggest thing that's really cool about being a part of Love, honestly. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything that you learned from your playing days that you still carry with you today?
As a former setter, what's really funny is like all broadcasters are setters, by the way. If you haven't noticed that, like Holly
I didn't even know that.
NCAA games. Salima's my partner because we're used to like driving the bus. I think what really excites me about being in volleyball for this long, I started playing, I don't know, 7th grade or something, is just seeing how it's developed and advancing. The athletes are bigger and stronger and more exciting, but also all the lessons that you learn as an athlete and how it serves you in every other place in life. I just love how everybody's owning their space now in women's sports and how, people do watch women's sports, and we know that now.
What does that mean, like you being a part of women's sports today compared to when you played before? How important is it today?
Well, it changed my life. I can't imagine. I benefited from Title IX. I guess I was one of the early ones benefiting from Title IX. I was a little bit unaware. The only fan letter I have ever written was to Billie Jean King for what she did for Title IX, because what would I be doing if my life weren't about sports? I've spent my entire career in sports broadcasting. I have 3 kids who play sports. I believe in competing in a very competitive business in television. I cannot. There was no plan B, you guys. It was all about sports.
Mm-hmm. Actually, it's really interesting because I know that you played after Title IX existed, but you've kind of seen this crazy evolution of sports, women in sports, when it comes to the beginning of Title IX, and then where it was during that period of time before NIL began, and now it's the NIL era. And as we now know, women's sports has exploded. There's bars that are just showing women's sports, right? What do you think is still to come when it comes to women's sports in general?
I think when we stop calling it women's, when it's just sports. Right? I mean, when it is just basketball and it is just volleyball, that's what I'm looking forward to, is when we get there and we can drop the qualifier.
Clock it. That was great. Yeah, clock it.
When you were playing volleyball, was there any thought in your mind about going professional or trying to play professional, or was your mind kind of set on going the TV career route? Because you started in TV like in college.
I started, working in college. So yes, there was a discussion about going and playing overseas. Of course, this didn't exist until this year, this, super high level Olympic lead. Not that I would have made it by any means, but no, I knew I had to go really for my television career, because going overseas and playing, it just wasn't a sustainable option, really.
I have a question for that, because I'm someone that's also dealing with that kind of situation. That pivot, like, what is it? How do you let go of being that phenomenal athlete, the sport that you love, and taking that next step, going into a career that you're kind of almost leaving volleyball behind for a little bit?
Yeah. Are you leaving volleyball behind, Kat?
Possibly. I'm trying to.
We're getting some reps right now.
I'm
with
getting
the
up there.
podcast,
Yeah,
right?
I'm getting up there. Yeah, I think the podcast route is where I want to go for sure. But
Going to broadcasting. So I started at ESPN at 21 years old. I just got really lucky with a 6-month temporary job, and I just never let go. And it's been 35 years now. But there's a lot that you use from sports into a broadcasting career or any career. And the first thing is competition, and healthy competition and competing. I remember that Jim McLaughlin, when he was coaching at the University of Washington, said, the first thing I have to do is teach these women to compete. This is, of course, 15 years ago, because there was still that stigma of, like, we send our boys out to play and we say, fight hard and go win. And then they'd send their girls out and be like, be nice, make friends. And I was like, no, go out there and kill them, kind of thing. So I think that same killer instinct comes into the boardroom of wherever you are working, in your C-suite, whatever it is. And the big thing for me is collaboration. To work, I've had many different broadcast partners. A couple have not been a part of a team. They don't understand how to collaborate.
I've actually had this question asked to me a bunch of times throughout my career, because I've been in the sports media industry now for almost 20 years myself. And you always get that question, was it hard? Did the men treat you differently? What was it like trying to make your way up the ladder in this very male-dominated industry? Do you have any anecdotes or any stories that you went through that you had to sort of persevere or you had to overcome to get to where you are? Or did you get treated respectfully and fairly?
Oh my goodness, what a question, right? Because, girls, how much time do we have?
I'm like, spill the tea, spill the tea.
All right, I'll give you one. One. When I was a producer at ESPN, before I went on air, I was covering a Mike Tyson fight in Vegas. So I was a producer. I had an all-male crew we were working together, a male reporter, photographer, audio, sound people as well, and a runner. And as we were setting up to interview Mike Tyson, a guy comes over. He's irritated about something, I don't know. And he goes, I want to speak to the guy in charge. So the men I work with always were really respectful. And they were like, here she is. And I walked over and I said, hey, how can I help you? And he said, I want to talk to the guy in charge. And I said, well, I'm in charge. How can I help you? And he goes, I want to talk to your boss. And I said, oh, my boss. Okay. And meanwhile, my boss is in Connecticut. I'm in Vegas. I'm working. So I said, Jeff, who's our photographer and a good friend, Jeff, can you get a chair for this guy? And so he did. And I said, just have a seat here. And I went back to setting up, because what do you want me to do? I'm still setting up the thing. After about 5 minutes, the guy's super hot. And he said, hey, is this guy ever going to show up? And I said, what guy? And he said, the guy in charge. And I said, oh, no, I already told you that I was in charge. I got the chair so you could take a moment to wrap your head around it.
Oh.
I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying. Do not,
What
what
did
did
he
you say, Pat? Don't come for me unless I send for you. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Good for you.
That was like my biggest thing I think I worry about is just like transitioning. I don't want to lose the personality in who I am. You know what I'm saying? And I love that, like, interviewing you right now, I'm like, she is herself. She says what she wants, and she's like standing 10 toes down. Like, that's something I want to keep doing for myself as well. This is amazing.
You can't lose who you are. I mean, that's the whole point is, everybody bringing themselves. Who do you want to watch? You want to watch an AI cutout, or do you want to watch somebody with some personality?
Exactly. Yeah.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with more from our interview with Anne-Marie Anderson. Actually, that kind of is a perfect segue to your book, because I feel like, okay, so your book title is called Cultivating Audacity, Dismantle Doubt, and Let Yourself Win. And I feel like finding your true self, finding who you are, and taking that step to be the person that you want to be and show the personality that of who you are, right? Like, that seems like that's what you're trying to say. But what made you eventually write this book? Because it just came out in January. So this is, 35 years in sports media broadcast career, and all of a sudden you write this amazing book. What was the impetus behind it?
Thank you. I just get super bummed when I hear somebody say, I don't want to go to work. I've literally never had a day in my life that I haven't wanted to go to work because I have such a great job. And if you're not happy with something in your life, and it can be anything, you could be in a relationship that's rough, or your health, whatever it is, it's time maybe to evaluate it and take some risks. And audacity is a willingness to take bold risks. And My entire career has been built on risk taking, worth it versus reckless. And it's led me to a life I'm super excited about. And I wanted to actually teach other people to do that. It isn't just a book saying, go for it, you can do it. It's a book saying, okay, here's the barriers that are commonly in place. Which one of these sings to you the most? Let's dig into it, break it down, and set up the systems so you can, wake up to a life you're excited about every day.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about that is people have a lot of like self-doubt. Like, you talk about dismantling doubt. What is something in your life you think you were able to dismantle that part about yourself to be able to take that first leap forward? Like if there was one thing in your writing the book or part of your career.
Yeah, no, but I was, as I said, a producer, and I wanted to go on air for 10 full years. I didn't even tell anybody at ESPN that I wanted to go on air. My friends, nobody. And it's because I was afraid they would say, like, who does she think she is, right? That's the audacity kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Or what makes her so special? I was terrified that I was going to be bad or embarrassed, judged. And you know what happened, Khat, when I went on air? I was bad, embarrassed, and judged, and I still survived it anyway.
Yeah, it was going to happen anyways.
Yeah, so that's where I learned with Audacity that the win in Audacity and taking that bold risk is in the action and not in the outcome. I was afraid I'd be bad. It was no big deal. I went back the second time. I was just as bad, frankly. It just wasn't the first time.
How did you overcome that, though? Because I feel like a lot of people get nervous and all of a sudden they get in their heads like, I'm not good at this. I don't think I'm going to be good at this. I'm too afraid to go back and try it again. How did you get over that?
Well, first of all, I had a contract, so I had to go back.
That helps.
the next week. No, but I had all those things. I mean, I was crying outside the stadium to my then husband, just what you want in your sideline reporter, like sobbing outside a stadium, saying, I'm going to be so terrible, it's going to ruin, my entire career. Okay, you let that sit there. Here's the key, you guys. You make friends with fear. We've been told to push fear away, conquer your fears, overcome your fears. That can't happen. I don't buy it at all. Make friends with fear, hold it close, and acknowledge what it is you're afraid of, and then have the faith that you're going to survive the outcome no matter what it is. I've traveled with fear as a passenger all the time. It just doesn't get to drive.
That's amazing. When I hear this kind of stuff, I feel like, okay, I'm on the right track. Because for me, if I have any kind of let's say, for example, when I first started playing, player's anxiety, and you try so hard just to try to push off those feelings and those emotions and talk those healthy talk words to yourself, you got this, you can do it. But sometimes it's a war, and it's so much more energy to take on that, trying to push yourself up, pump yourself up to be positive, than rather just sinking into it, letting it ride out, and then overcoming it. And that's something I've learned throughout my career is that okay, this is how I'm feeling. We ball. Let's just be in this, and eventually it'll fall off, So, and it's helped me, honestly. That's great. That's amazing. That's a real thing.
Yeah, that's your inner critic, right? That we all have in all aspects of our life that's telling us stuff. The easiest thing I did was separate that inner critic from myself. And it happened with my daughter when she was in 6th grade. I picked her up from school. Hey, how was school? And she's like, I'm dumb. I can't do math. And oh, by the way, I'm fat. And I'm like, yo, there's a lot to unpack there, right? That middle school angst. And so once we talked about it, we decided to give that voice the name Jerry, because there's no way my daughter would say that to anybody else. So I told her, there's no way that voice is yours. So separate it. And then I said, well, what would you say to Jerry if he said that to you? You're stupid and you can't do math and you're fat. And she goes, I'd say, shut up, Jerry. And I said, well, so then that's what you're going to say. This is not helpful to me right now. And when I hear my inner critic say something that's, really seeding doubt, I'm like, I'm doing it anyway. So you are not being helpful right now.
That's a great tactic, and I am totally going to use that, especially
Same.
with my daughter when she starts to get that middle school angst. Because
Yeah.
I'm going to use that for myself, but I'm going to have to use that with her too, I know. Now, what about the support system? Because I feel like there's always a group of people that need to kind of help you or inspire you, motivate you, besides just yourself. You need people around you who are willing to either help you when you fail or keep pushing you along when things are going great. But what happens when you're around people who aren't supporting you? How do you get around that to keep succeeding? Like this guy who, kept asking for the guy who was in charge, right? Someone who's kind of stepping in your way because they don't think that you should be in charge or that they don't think that you should be where you are.
He doesn't get a vote. And that's the thing. My friend Laura Gassner-Otting wrote a book called Limitless, and she says, don't give a voice to anybody who shouldn't have a vote. And what I believe is that you curate your own front row. You pick certain people to be in your front row. And those are the people that you would respect their advice, that they pick you up and they encourage you and they redirect you and they tell you the truth. And I'll tell you who's not in your front row. Probably not your mom, probably not your best friend, because they want you to be safe. They don't want to see you get hurt. Your front row needs to be people that are doing big things on their own who are going to push you. Maybe it's somebody in the same area that you're interested in professionally. Maybe it's not. And I have a fitness front row. I have a personal front row who I told first about my divorce. I have my professional front row. You guys should know the name Holly McPeak. She's a 3-time Olympian and an NCAA champion. She's in my fitness front row along with Nicole Brand, who's another Olympian. If I don't show up for Orange Theory, they're calling, they're texting, and I'm like, I need new friends that aren't Olympians because I don't want to work out that hard. The point being, like, somebody who's going to hold you accountable. They hold me accountable for fitness. You need those people. And then everybody else, no vote. They don't get a vote.
That's great.
When you're feeling stuck, how do you kind of get out of those moments and those modes? Like, what's something that you use to drive yourself when you're having a bad day or just kind of low in energy? What do you use to kind of get you to spice up a little bit?
Yeah, or find your thing, right? Because we all have that one thing that we'd like to do, but don't necessarily know how to get there. But then for other people, and I think this is what you're alluding to, Khat, you just know it isn't this.
Yeah.
Like, whatever I want to do, I'm not sure what it is, but it isn't this. And I give a couple of tools in the book. It's based on the word ikigai, a Japanese concept, which a lot of you may be familiar with. Ikigai is a Japanese word that loosely translated means your reason for being. And it's often depicted in Western culture in a Venn diagram, which is, what are you good at? What do you love? What does the world need? And what can I be paid for? For me, I introduced it in the book, Cultivating Audacity, as a funnel, because I don't think you're just one thing.
Yeah.
And so at the top of my funnel, it would be, what do you enjoy? There's all kinds of things I enjoy, sports, gardening, international travel, whatever. What are you good at? Well, I kill every plant I've ever had. So that doesn't even make it through the first thing. Kids are still alive, though, so I feel good about that. But plants, no. So, nobody's going to pay me to garden. And if you get the idea, it keeps coming down. What does the world need? So for me, I felt like the world needs sports as entertainment. The world needs somebody who wants to lift others up, and that's what I want to do with this book. And the world needs people that are good mothers, and that's what I try to be for my kids. So when it filters all the way down, at the end, that's your audacious goal. And so what we're talking about, I love to travel internationally, so I do that for VNL, talk about sports, volleyball, and parent. They let me bring my kids. So my daughter's coming to Istanbul with me this summer. She's been to the Netherlands and Spain and Poland, my sons, to see all this. So when you create the entire life that you're excited about, not just one piece, not just your job.
Speaking of volleyball and broadcasting for volleyball, did you want to broadcast volleyball, or is this just one of those happy full circle moments that brought you back?
I didn't think it could be a career because, there wasn't any volleyball on TV then. And when I first started, you already talked about how I was producing Super Bowl coverage or Olympic coverage. And when it was about 2003, when there was a new network called College Sports Television, it was a CBS network that started televising all sports. And so that's when I started with volleyball. Wanted to work year round, so became a play-by-play announcer. And I've been play-by-play for basketball, softball, soccer, water polo. But, volleyball's always had a little special place in my heart.
Of course.
Well, if you've worked so many amazing events, is there any events that you could pinch yourself and say, hey, you know what? I can't believe I'm here. How did I get in this moment right now? What's your favorite, broadcasting moment?
Covering the Dream Team at the 1992 Olympics.
That is insane.
Yeah.
That is insane. Wow.
It was wild. It was so crazy trying to even get in to do our job because they were global superstars. Global. And you know what's so funny? You had asked me earlier, Tiffany, I have 3 kids. They had no idea until COVID. We're clipped in the house. We're watching The Last Dance, seeing Michael Jordan. And I was like, oh, yeah, I did this. And they were like, Mom, seriously? I don't know if they thought I just shopped at Target all day or what I did. But I was like, yeah, I had life before you guys. But the Dream Team was super cool.
That's really
awesome.
amazing.
It's legendary.
Like I said to you before we started recording, we could talk to you for hours, and we'd love to. But sadly, we do need to start to wrap up the interview. But before we do, we did have 2 fun questions, one each from us that we wanted to ask you. So, Khat, do you want to start?
Yeah, if you could interview anyone in sports history, who would it be and why?
It would be Billie Jean King, only because I haven't had the opportunity to. And the first thing I would say to her is thank you from all of us for creating a world in which we can compete and grind and sweat and be disappointed and be resilient. All of that came out of her efforts.
I think Love had like an interaction thing with her. I think like last week. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I was going to say Billie Jean's an investor. So, Billie Jean, you hear this? Now, in similar vein, since you were a volleyball player, if you could pepper with anyone, an athlete, celebrity, dead or alive, who would you want to play with?
I would say Kat Bell. Can't I?
Yeah! See, my ball control is good.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be okay. We'll do it, coming up at one of these matches, but just don't hurt me, baby, okay?
We should. I got you. We should.
Well, Anne-Marie, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much. We're super excited about your book, about everything that you're doing for women's sports, for volleyball, for love. We really appreciate everything you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great talking to you guys.
Thanks for watching Serving Pancakes. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. You can also listen to the podcast version on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.